It's called the 5-Word Review. Harry Potter, The Deathly Hallows, Part 1. Man, I was impressed. And going into this, I would say my expectations were uh, pretty much met. They didn't really exceed them, but my expectations were very high, and I got some very great results from expecting the movie to be very good. So I guess we'll just start this off by saying that this is a film for the fans. I would say this is the film for the fans. The fact that it's split into two parts should speak on its own how hard they're working on this. That this first movie was 2.5 hours, and it's, as far as I know, it's only half the story. And they're really working a lot of detail into this, and I definitely appreciate that. I had a friend of mine say, "No, I don't want to support this because it's just a run for money. Why split the movie into two parts? You have to spend 10 extra bucks for it." Well, no, it's not a run for money. This is the opposite of that. This is J.K. Rowling and the producers and the actors and everyone who's been a part of this for as long as it's been going on to make sure that the finale is satisfying and lives up to the books and the huge fan base. And I I uh I wouldn't call myself a fan of Harry Potter. I mean, I definitely love the series. I love the universe, and I enjoy watching the characters interact. And every movie, I'd say my favorite part of every movie is just seeing how more in depth the universe can become when we learn about, you know, curses and Horcruxes and Quidditch and all the different spells people can learn. I just love watching the universe develop and see how much more detail actually exists in that world. Um, Although there is a downside for this being a film for the fans. While it is focused very much on quality and putting in as much content as they can from the books, it's also leaving out a bunch of necessary stuff for people who have not read the books. In the beginning, Lupin, when they're at the Granger's estate, house, whatever, and everyone's there, going to drink the polyjuice potion so they can become distractions for Voldemort. Um, Lupin's wife, I don't even think she was in the last movie. I could be wrong about that. I just saw it a month or two ago for the second time, and I'm almost certain that she was not even in the last movie. So when they introduced her, I was like, uh-oh, looks like there's going to be some characters I'm not going to know. And so for people who have not read the books, there is a pretty big problem with this movie in that there's going to be some characters who you don't recognize, or it's going to take you a while to remember who they were. And the another one was the I don't even remember the name. What's the little blonde girl's name? Oh, I know it. I just can't remember. When her father is when we're introduced to her father, I don't even remember who he was until when they go to his little house tower thing in the middle of nowhere, and he tells them about the Deathly Hallows. I didn't even know who that was until I remembered that he was the daughter of the blonde girl. I'm sorry, I totally remember her name. I just can't think of it right now. Okay, so but I'm not going to hold that against the movie by any means. That's not the movie's fault that this is a movie directed at the fans of the books. I think that's exactly what this needs to be, and that's exactly what it should be in order for it to be good. I mean, look at all the video game movies out there. You make a fucking Doom movie and put Dwayne the Rock Johnson in it, who, given I really like as an actor, but it's just a run. It's a very obvious run for money because you get this all-star wrestler playing the lead of one of the most celebrated first-person shooters of all time. And not to mention, it's a first-person game made into a third-person movie. So how can you do that? So this is absolutely, this movie is for the fans, but everyone else who isn't really a fan can also, of course, enjoy it. The child actors who aren't really children anymore, they're adults. They did an outstanding job with this movie. The scene with the tent scenes where the three of them, it really delves into the chemistry between the three of them, and and Ron and Harry have that fight. That was really powerful stuff, and I got a little choked up because these are characters who I have seen. Me and all of my friends have literally grown up with. Them obviously more than me because I didn't read all of the books. I think I read four of them and then I stopped. And but being a film buff, I've I haven't grown up with the characters as in depth as my friends have, but nonetheless, I've been with them for 7 or 8 years, or as long as these movies have been going on. And seeing them torn apart like that was very um, hard to bear, and I had a hard time coping with it. Just seeing these kids who I grew up with emotionally go through this terrible shit. Same with the scene where Bellatrix carves mudblood into Hermione. Jesus, that was fucking awful. And Emma Watson's performance in this is outstanding in all aspects, especially though during her confrontation with Bellatrix. I mean, the raw emotion that Emma deserves. I was so surprised by how powerful that was and how much it disturbed me to see her, you know, become so vulnerable and be so hurt at that point. Oh, sorry. Okay, thought it had stopped recording for a second. That would have been bad. All right, so the child actors are great. It's obviously a run for quality and content as opposed to money. Something else that I really loved was, and this is coming specifically from something that I think you can only really get with the movies, not so much with the books, is the visuals in this are awesome. The camera work, I mean, it's not amazing, but it's definitely not bad. It's great camera work, and something that really impressed me was how the movie, in all of the action sequences, it felt like a war movie but with magic. Like the kind of pseudo dogfight when Voldemort's Death Eaters intercept the people as they're trying to move Harry to the Weasley Burrow. I thought when they go into the cloud and then all of the other witches and wizards there just dueling it out was awesome. I thought I remember just because I haven't read the book, so I have no idea what happens in this. And so when they broke through that cloud and you see all the other Death Eaters, I was kind of like, whoa! Like in the theater, I actually said out loud because I was so impressed by how it looked. And another one was the scene where Harry, Hermione, and Ron encounter the two kind of Death Eater hitmen in that coffee shop place. The way it's filmed, and just the fact that there's no soundtrack and the rapidity and kind of randomness of the action, the fighting, just the way it was filmed, and how it felt so real and spontaneous. It felt like a kind of a war sequence, like something you would get in Saving Private Ryan or something. And overall, just visuals were not only fun to watch and just stare at, but they were really well done, and they felt very mature. So I guess moving on to my final point is this movie is dark. Man, it is dark. Obviously, I'm sure even if you haven't read the books, you know that a lot of people die in this. Not too many in the first one, but I'm sure there'll be more in the second one. But there are still a number of deaths in the first part, and that in combination with the way it was shot, the action sequences. I mean, there's a scene where I won't spoil it for those who haven't read the books. There's one of our characters who's been with us since the beginning gets a curse. He gets hit by a curse in his head, and there's this a massive amount of blood just pouring down his face, and it's really gory and disturbing to see him hurt so badly. But that's just part of growing up with this movie. Because, I mean, when we started watching these movies, we were probably 2 or 3 years younger than these actors, maybe the same age, I'm not quite sure. And now I know they're only about 2 or 3 years older than us, and I'm so happy to see that this series is ending so phenomenally from a film perspective, because obviously it's hard to do. The only other series I can think of that have really done that well are Star Wars and Lord of the Rings. Star Wars, it could have been better, but it wasn't terrible, in my opinion. And Yeah, I guess I'm not really sure what else to say. So I'm just gonna go to my 5 words, and maybe I'll elaborate a little more there. So my 5 words for the Deathly Hallows Part One would have to be epic. Uh, the whole plot structure feels very well paced, and it definitely feels like the climactic ending. It feels like this movie was building up to something that is going to be just amazingly epic. In Yeah, you know what I mean. There wasn't a whole there actually wasn't a lot of action in this one, which surprised me, but I wasn't disappointed by any means. I kind of expected it. A very good portion of the footage shown in the trailer is for part two as opposed to part one, and this, as little action as there is, there's just so much great development and chemistry between the three uh, actors, Rupert Grint, Emma Watson, and Daniel Radcliffe, and they pull it off so well. And just the development, everything is paced so brilliantly, and I thoroughly enjoyed uh, just watching them interact, even though there was very little, action in this film. So my second word from epic would be defining, and by defining I mean not only in the sense that this is the defining movie of the series or two movies. This is the defining movie of a generation. I mean, me and my friends, as I've said many times already, have grown up with these kids, and I know it's gonna be very sad for me to watch it end. I was slightly scared coming out of the movie, thinking, "Oh my God, there's only one left." I've been watching these in the theater since I was like 11 years old. So yeah, it's a generation defining, and there's not. I don't know if there's any movies that have gone on this long and still remain so successful. Um, and this Harry Potter is really one of a kind in that sense. So a third word would be mature, both in quality and content. It's very dark, but also very well made, and the camera work along with the acting feels very adult. Well paced is my fourth word. Not much to say there. It just goes by very well. I was never bored, and at the end, when it cut to black, I I definitely saw it coming. I saw that the movie was going to end in a couple seconds. I was like, oh shit, it's gonna end. But I was, still hopeful that it wouldn't. And I saw it with my friend Justin, and as soon as it cut to black and the credits started rolling, we were just like, oh fuck. We just didn't want it to be over. And my last word, simple one, is exciting. It's exciting to see the finale of this series. It's exciting to have this finally wrapped up, and as a movie on its own, it's just an exciting flick. Um, so yeah, I guess I'm not really sure what else to say. I don't have the reader's perspective as the majority of people who see this movie probably do, but as a film on its own and as a continuation of the series, it is absolutely an excellent movie. So, um, if you haven't seen any of the movies, you probably shouldn't watch this. You most likely won't know what's going on. But if you haven't read any of the books, but you've seen all the movies, definitely go see this. It's something that I think everyone who's been through all of the movies and seen them on their release dates or around their release dates needs to see, because this is something that um, a lot of us have grown up with, even adults too. This is 7 or 8 years of our lives. So definitely go see Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows if you're a fan of the previous movies and the books. And I'll leave you with that. So have a nice night, guys, and as always, thank you very much for your time. See ya.